All right, everyone, welcome to Into the Cypher State. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network. My handle is citizen42.gala within the Cypher State. You can call me Dave. And today, instead of Cosmos, we actually have Maxime from SiBorg. Wonderful new protocol. Thank you very much for coming, mate. If you could just give a quick introduction to yourself and your protocol, would really appreciate it for the people.
Yeah, well, thanks again for the invitation. And so my name is Maxime, and I'm CEO and co-founder of SiBorg. SiBorg is a spin-off of SwissBorg on SocialFi. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a social network focusing on podcast and Twitter space, and we're integrating the Lens protocol. Yeah, that's it to start.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited to learn more. I think your protocol looks very promising, so I'm looking forward to hearing more. Okay, guys. So before we start, I think it's very important to remember that myself, my team members, if any appear on stage, and anyone on the panel, we are your guides to navigating the Cypher State, but we are not your financial advisors. Any guests' opinions are their own, and nothing said in this space constitutes financial or investment advice. So please don't take it from us. We're not that smart. So now we have all that out of the way. I think it's a good idea to get comfortable. If we could get everyone who's listening right now to give us a like and a retweet on the room, I'd really appreciate it. We try to be as informative and engaging on the show as we can. So if we can get out to more people, that'd be absolutely amazing. Doesn't cost you anything to like and retweet. All right, guys. So at the top, I've actually pinned our tweet that's just announcing the first cohort of our Sentinels program is finished. So that's been a massive success for us. We've got some absolutely amazing people within the Sentinels program for Galactica, and they will be earning their Galactica citizenship before anyone else. They're going to be earning their way to a Galactica Network citizenship, and that's going to be an absolutely amazing thing for them. But they are really working hard for the protocol. They are ambassadors for us. They're going to be the pillars of our governance and validation. It's a massively all-encompassing kind of program. It's not just ambassadorship, so they deserve it every step of the way. Okay, everyone. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with the news, as I promised. Been very interesting the last week. I think there's been an awful lot of movement on the CBDC side of things. So there are a couple of pioneering projects right now, more traditional institutions bringing out their CBDC payment rails. In fact, the major one, I guess, is the Bank of International Settlements. So they've actually just released their project Tourbillon, which is essentially a CBDC infrastructure project that aims to provide "quote unquote" privacy for their users, so that their payer's personal details are not given with payments. Again, this kind of thing we've seen before. We've seen the words. It's very difficult to believe the words until we have action from the traditional side of things. But if they are putting in a genuine effort, then I'm willing to listen and willing to see. But I'm pretty sure I've said on this show before, I have a slight mistrust of traditional institutions and anything that isn't anything centralized. So we will have to see on that one. Again, we are looking at CBDCs when we talk about another Bank of International Settlements report. So they are basically saying that central banks are not ready for CBDCs in general. The actual rollout of all these things has been slower than they expected, and they're trying to hardball a lot of countries into adopting this stuff faster than they're actually capable of doing. So I think this was to be expected. I think the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, is trying to play catch up with crypto. They're desperate to try and come up with some kind of competitive product with crypto, and I'm not entirely sure that they're going to be able to succeed. I don't know if you're actually keeping up with all this, Maxime, with the CBDC side of things. I imagine you're pretty head down with your projects, but I don't know if you have any opinions on CBDCs at all that you'd like to share.
Yeah, sure. I think it's really interesting topics. Of course, I'm not an expert on CBDCs, but I had the chance to speak to some people at the Banque de France, which is kind of the central banking. I mean, under the European Central Bank, we have like Banque de France, and those guys are also looking at CBDCs, but it's not expected until 2026, so not for right now. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, but it really depends of, let's say, how it's built, because it can be really good and maybe some people could have access to banking system more, like, let's say, more easily. But on the other hand, with too much control, if we look at, for example, WeChat and what is doing on the Asia part, well, if tomorrow you cannot pay, if someone decide that you cannot pay more than 1,000 to your friend, or that you cannot spend more than X euros on fast food, or I mean on everything, that can be a real issue. So yeah, I think we have to see, and the governance will be clearly to be seen on this, and yeah, for sure, no decentralization. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I feel like it's incredibly stifling and oppressive. I mean, that's just the feeling that I get. Like I say, a bunch of these centralized institutions are like they're spouting the privacy line, like they're saying those words, but the amount of power that they will have under these systems is absolutely abhorrent. I mean, you can imagine what they've got now with the payment rails that they're developing. The problem is that these CBDCs, these structures, will be used for everything. They will be used for your identification. They will be used for your reputation, and all of that will end up being centrally controlled by a government. And that's such a dangerous thing to have, when a government can just press a button and change your reputation, or remove your ID, or change your ID, or any number of these things. It's a scary prospect. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I'd much prefer to decentralize everything that we can, including identity and reputation. I'm sure we'll get to that later, but it's a much better time for all when there's less bias, less corruption, and less middlemen involved. Right then, guys, I think there's one more thing that I just wanted to bring up on the news, actually. Where is it? Yes. So there's been a joint operation between the US and European authorities. And this is to bring down another crypto mixer. So if you remember Tornado Cash, they've actually brought down another one, which is called, if I bring that up, trying to remember. It's the Lazarus group, which has been using it again, these North Korean hackers. But they've been using a protocol called Sinbad in order to basically do everything they were doing with Tornado Cash. Now, the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury of the US, Wally Andamayo, has basically said that mixing services that enable criminal actors, such as the Lazarus Group, to launder stolen assets will face serious consequences. The Treasury Department and its US government partners stand ready to deploy all tools at their disposal to prevent virtual currency mixers like Sinbad from facilitating illicit activities. While we encourage responsible innovation in the digital asset ecosystem, we will not hesitate to take action against illicit actors. Now, I guess the question I'd like to ask you, Maxime, is where do you stand on these privacy enhancing mixes? I personally see them as infrastructure rather than as an inherent evil. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's a really complex question, because so on one end, I think that privacy should be respected, and if I can send a transaction, and if I don't want people to know about it and from which wallet it came and all those stuff, I mean that's my right. So I'm 100% on this track. But on the other end, I understand also that if some people can finance like terrorism or like really, really bad things, then this also needs to be like, kind of to be not necessarily regulated, but it need to some actions need to be taken. So maybe I will not go to closed mixers, but I mean, I was last week or 2 weeks ago, I went to an event in Paris, and so it was exactly on these topics. So it was kind of cybersecurity and all those things. And so we had some people from the French government, we have some people from chain analysis, we had also some lawyers, and many people. And so they were exactly discussing about this. And I mean, so of what they are doing is they're doing a private and public collaboration, so between like public sectors and private companies, to try to trace those stuff, and in case of, for example, Lazarus Group, to know what's happening, what we do with the money and all. But I definitely think that closing infrastructure, because it's exactly what you said, it's really infrastructure, we should not we should not do that, and we need to respect some privacy, but clearly a complex question.
Very much so. Very much so. It is tricky. I would never claim that it's a black and white on that one. Even though, like I say, it's most certainly an infrastructure layer. You can see how it could it incentivizes malicious acts by having this pure privacy. I would say that's secrecy rather than privacy is the way I would term that. And in society, it's very difficult to determine whether maybe in a public setting, if you had such an ability to just put your hands in a pool in public, and by doing so, you reset your privacy. So you could go off and do something malicious. You could do a murder. You could steal. You could do all sorts of things. You could then just press a button and turn away and remove all evidence of your wrongdoing. I don't think that would be accepted in any coherent society. It's a very tricky one. Like I say, personally, I'm of the it's pure infrastructure, and we need to try and do something about the people rather than the infrastructure. But we've also tried to overcome this with a better infrastructure with Galactica, actually. So what we've done is we've provided a space for private compliance. So that means that you maintain your privacy at all times by default, and you can still transact in a compliant manner by being able to prove aspects of yourself and your reputation. So this leverages off-chain trust in order to get your identity and all that kind of thing, and then leverages on-chain reputation, basically your history, your Web3 footprint, your transactions, in order to give you that those data points that you can prove yourself to whatever protocol you want to prove to. So yeah, that's a different way of doing it, but it allows for the compliance part. It allows for malicious actors to have consequence to action. So it's a different way, and we'll have to see if people like that one, if people adopt it. I think the only other piece of news that we have today is that Uniswap. So Uniswap Labs, they've actually got a new partnership with Talos. You might have heard of Talos before. Relatively big company with institutional technology. So they're trying to basically bring institutional access to DeFi, much like we are with like I said, with that compliant private environment. But they're doing it. They're essentially just offering their trading APIs to Talos clients, and formatting them in the same way that Talos formats its order books. So it's a very different way of doing it. There's going to be, I imagine, not much in the way of privacy there, but it's designed that way. I think only the source of funds and such is private. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. You should look it up if you have an opportunity, guys. Just check out Uniswap Labs partnership with Talos. Very interesting if you're looking at institutional money coming into crypto. It looks like we've got Cosmos Hoss in the audience. Give us a thumbs up, Hoss, if you want to join us on the stage. If not, then no worries. You can happy to listen. Okay. So what we're going to do, I think we'll just pop straight on to the fun stuff, Maxime, if that's okay with you. I'd love to get a bit of an introduction. But firstly, I just ask everyone on the listener panel if you can give us a like and a retweet on the space. Really appreciate that. We're trying our absolute best to provide some education and some value here. Good old Hossy wants to come up. We'll bring him up. There we go. We'll send him a co-host invite. So yeah, if you can give us a like and a retweet, we'd really appreciate it, guys. Get out to more people. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. And if you want to join us on stage, you are welcome. Just request to speak. Hoss, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you up on stage, dude.
Doing well. I thought I seen you in the other chat, other Twitter space, and I didn't realize. Like, I thought maybe this was canceled, and then you hit me up. I'm like, oh, okay. So sorry about that.
That's okay, dude. It's okay. No. The ontology guys, Humpty, they requested our presence because we've been supporting them a lot, and it's they just wanted us up there for their anniversary thing. So we're happy to go up there and say hi.
Okay, great. Because I thought potentially because of the like how the time difference and all that it changed, and I thought I missed the space again. And I'm like, no, but no, man. Glad to be here, doing well, excited for the holidays, excited for the market. It's definitely not financial advice, obviously, but really feel pretty comfortable and confident in the market kind of returning. It just seems like behind the scenes, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more, I don't want to say collaboration, but more people kind of come out of the cave, so if you will, and they're out and about now. So it feels pretty good. There's a lot of awesome things being built in this space, including what Galactica is doing. And yeah, so it's just super exciting times, man, because like it was a long stretch of just not as much fun, and it seems like the energy's coming back, and a couple of the teams that I'm like kind of helping, but like always kind of active in their Telegram and things. I'm seeing a lot of new faces asking a lot of new questions, which is always a good sign of like new people coming into the space. So really exciting, to be honest with you.
100%, man. 100%. And not financial advice, but get everything, buy everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. No, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you up, dude. I was just going to get Maxime here to do a little bit of a self intro and maybe a little bit of an intro to SiBorg, which sounds to me like a really cool protocol. So I'd love to hear it, Maxime.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, basically, like I mentioned earlier, so SiBorg is a spin-off of SwissBorg, and we are really focusing on SocialFi. And so when we started working on this, we looked at the pain points, and the first thing that we saw was the platform life cycle. And I don't know if you're aware of those platform life cycle, and if this name just rings a bell or not, but basically what's platform lifecycle is like you can take Uber, YouTube, like Instagram. I mean, maybe the majority of apps that you may know. And what's happening is that at the beginning, so when they create the app, everything is free. You have maybe no fees or low fees. You have no ads like YouTube at the beginning. And then once they have the traction, then everything changed. And if you look at Uber, the fees increase. If you look at Airbnb, the same. If you look at YouTube, they changed the algorithms, so it changed the revenue of the content creators. They changed the number of ads that they have on each videos. And the thing that is let's say complicated and that is an issue is not that they evolve. This is okay, but the problem here is that they evolve without, let's say, letting everybody express themselves and, let's say, give their opinion of the evolution of the platform. And if you take YouTube, when they change the algorithm, and then it impacts the content creators because maybe it can change their revenue. And so this is really a governance question. And this was the first thing, one of the first thing that we saw. And that's why maybe we'll talk about it later if it's interesting for you and you want to know more about it. But we're really working on new governance model, and that's actually pretty interesting. And I think it's really interesting. So this was the first thing that we saw. And then something that is kind of linked is when you look at platform today, like social media platform like TikTok, YouTube again, or many others. One thing that I saw with my co-founders is that they really push quantity content and not quality content. And I mean, it's the reason is again a governance reason. Why? Because for example, YouTube wants to make money. How does YouTube make money? They make money by pushing more ads, and so they will push content creators that is doing a lot of videos. So if I'm a content creator and doing one video per day, I will be more, let's say, I will have more visibility than a content creator that is publishing one video per week. But maybe I'm the one publishing one video per week and my video is like super high quality. But at the end of the day, I have less visibility. And so this is a second thing. And I think that in Web3, we are seeing a lot of companies doing like curation and community curation. And this is something really interesting also. And so the last part is the centralization risks. And I think that everybody here is really aware of this if you're here tonight. And the thing is, so today, if all your data are, let's say, detained by big guys like Google, Apple, Meta, and all those guys have like everything on us. And today I can even connect on a new app with Twitter or with Google or with anything. And so this is really an issue. And one thing that maybe the Web3 people we should do more is try to educate people about the risk, because I mean many people are talking about centralization risk, and maybe so why it's important to be decentralized and all. And so everybody in the space is talking about decentralization, but at the end of the day, if you speak at people like non-Web3 people, they don't even understand the risk of centralization. And maybe some of them are not aware of scandal like Cambridge Analytica and all those things. I don't know if you guys have any, like, if you saw this, if you talk to some people in Web2, and if those guys are aware, I'm really interested to know what you saw on this, because majority of people I talk to, they don't understand just what is centralization and what are those risks.
100%, man. Yeah, 100%. Like, this is one of the reasons why we're so strong on education in what we do, is because like we see this. You know, most people outside of crypto haven't got a single clue, and most people in crypto have no idea what they're selling. Like, they really don't. I was talking to a few people on the space earlier today, in fact, about like the adoption curve and getting people in. And I swear, like half the people on the stage in the Twitter space about adoption had no idea what adoption really meant. You know, people were talking about adopting people to like NFTs, the NFT space, the PFP space, all this stuff. And like, that's not what we're trying to do here, guys. You know, the goal here is to adopt people, the right people, to where they need to be. Like, I think I tend to ask like a couple of questions when I'm talking about that kind of thing. And the first one is, what are we adopting them to, for a start? And I like to call it the sovereign internet. Okay, so this is basically an internet, but where everybody owns all their assets and all their data. So their identity, their reputation, everything, the sovereign internet. And then once you know what you're adopting them to, that like incredible decentralized infrastructure, where, you know, you don't have to worry about censorship and you can choose your own sources of trust, then we ask the question, who are we actually adopting? So, and in my view, again, there's two camps there. We're either adopting other self-sovereign people like us, who care about all this stuff, who care about being our own banks, you know, being in this unstoppable, permissionless Wild West where we can do as we please to the extent that the code allows. And then there is the other, like 95% of people, I would guess, who fall under normal people. And these are people who need the decentralized financial and social infrastructure that we've built, but they won't ever know that they're using it. So we need to be those educators. We need to be the teachers, not just for self-sovereign people, but also for the people who are going to act as those intermediaries for the rest of the 95%. So, or, if we're not going to teach those people, we need to be those people. So it's a hell of a thing, adoption, and a lot of people don't understand it. And I'm glad you're on the education road as well, mate. What do you think, Os?
I'm all about it, man. I was gonna say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I'm all about it, dude. Like, that's what my mission has been since I came into this space, is all about educating people. And to like further the comment on people not like understanding it, I mean, I try to do everything decentralized, and that even comes from one of the main pinpoints that a lot of people don't realize is even if you use, like, say, Brave browser or the center, and you're using pre-search, that's great. It's a great start. But even like the problem with pre-search is they're using Bing for their indexer. So, Tempe is a L1 that's being built right now. It's in testnet in Cosmos, and they have their own indexer. So that's going to be amazing, because think about anytime you really search things, you're getting what they want you to get, right? Like, if you're into like politics, they know what side you're on, or try to persuade you, and you're only going to get one perspective. Like, I'll just use American politics. There's really only two parties. I know other countries, they have more, which is better than just two parties. But anyhow, you get what they want, and I'm all for people that are building things in this space to offer tooling to make it a more decentralized world, because anything that can mitigate corruption or biased data or biased anything, I'm all for it. And then those that are just kind of out in the forefront, like we're doing right now, and doing podcasts and Twitter spaces and creating content and reaching out to people and educating them on like the importance of self-sovereignty and your own data and your own keys and your own wealth and just everything. I mean, you deserve to own your own things, and if people want to have it, they should pay you for your time and effort, as opposed to like the old world that we're still in it right now, but the old world where just like all your data just gets taken from you, and then just the select people get to prosper off of all your research and all that. So totally, man. I've been on this mission since like day one, why I got into space. Like, anyone that doesn't know me, my background's in accounting and finance, and I always visualize like blockchains is nothing more than a decentralized accounting ledger. Then you build really cool applications on top of it, like code is law. It's a game. It's a system that everyone can partake in. And does it benefit people that have a little bit more financial wherewithal? I mean, yes, it's always going to kind of do that, but it's way more fair than the old legacy world where just a certain amount of people are in this like game that they get to just take advantage of the rest of like the 99% of the population. And I'm just over it. And I devote all my time and effort into this space, and really respect the people that tune in, listen to us ramble like I'm doing right now. And, I do believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that people that are in here early are just like early explorers, and they're going to be rewarded for all the pain and suffering that we had to go through all these last few years of just like craziness, and just like excited for everything. So that's kind of my rant and ramble, and I'll pass it back over to you.
I love your rants and rambles, man. You know it. And yeah, absolutely. Fight the powers. All these guys who have all the money and all the buttons to turn off all your money. It's a bad time. So Maxime. So I think we kind of thoroughly answered that.
Yeah, I think it's really good, really interesting, like education, and I think education is key. And one thing though that I realized is that many people don't want to be educated, and that's kind of when I realized this a few months ago, I was like, shit, what can we do for them? And so we discussed with Anthony, so one of the co-founder of SiBorg, and we're like, okay, so the thing is, we will probably, let's say, not onboard a lot of people because it's decentralized, or because they own their like data and everything. Because I mean, if we do the parallel with the banking system, how many people has their let's say their money in their home? No, nobody. Everybody has a bank account, and everything is on the bank account because it's much easier, and you have no responsibility. So this was kind of our point, and so we said, okay, so maybe what can we do? So first thing, what do you think is that we need to give choice to people, meaning that if people want to sign in with Google, I don't like it, but they can, because I have also, I mean, I have some, I need to be I need to have the best UX that we have on the market, and so it includes having those solutions, even if I don't like those. But so if people want, they can connect with Wallet or with Google or Twitter, even if, well, I'm not a fan of. But basically, I think it's a lot about giving the choice to people. And if we have the everything that on the education side, and if we do everything on this part, then it's just on the end of everybody. If they want to educate and to understand why it's more interesting to connect with a wallet and maybe have GID and all the things, this is clearly what we think. And so maybe to come back just on because we did a bit of a digression here and really interesting, but if we go back, so on those pain points, which are like, so governance with platform lifecycle, the fact that today you have a lot of low quality content and all those centralization risks. So when I say this, then the thing is, what is the role of Web3 and all those things? And so to go on this way, maybe it's good if I give my, let's say, definition of Web3 with the three, let's say, pillars that for me define Web3. And you have some other definition, of course, but for me, it's really about, so digital ownership, like, I mean, everybody is convinced, the decentralization, of course, and the community. And one thing that I do not see yet on many platforms, or let's say it's coming more and more with Lens and with Forecaster and all those protocol, and I hope that with Galactica it will be also something huge like this. And the thing is, if we have a community-centric approach, it's really huge. But if we look at a previous protocol, maybe some protocol like Audius that are really interesting, but I think they missed the point, which is the community, and to give more empowerment to the community and also to the content creators. And so yeah, so definitely I will discuss more about this and with the governance, because at the end of the day it's a lot of governance issue. But maybe one sentence that for me resume, let's say, the role of Web3 is that Web3 allows people to go from internet strangers to co-owners and co-creators. And I think with this sentence it quite resume quite well the Web3 and all this. So now that I define Web3 for us, and let's say for the SiBorg vision, maybe if we go a little bit on SocialFi, because if you look at the SocialFi today, you have a lot of things, and you have a lot of, let's say, a lot of narratives in this. But maybe again, if I give my definition of SocialFi with three pillars again. So we have first the governance and the decentralization. So again, the governance, for me, we have a lot of things to do. I don't know if you guys heard about multi-stakeholder governance. Have you?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So this is something really interesting. And for those who don't know what is multi-stakeholder governance, basically the idea is to say every stakeholder that is in your application. I mean, it may be an application, it could be a protocol, or basically everything that's what you have a multi-stakeholder. So it could work with YouTube, it could work with Uber, and with like basically a lot of application that we know today. And so for us, we have three stakeholders. So the first is the core team, so us. The second one is content creators, and the third one are users. And the thing is to cut the governance power in three, and that every stakeholder is represent 1/3 of the governance. And by doing this, you can have the governance that represent the minorities. And what is interesting is that you can have some model that is not directly linked to the token. So for example, for the users, the governance can be based on the token voting system. But if you look at the content creators, then it may be on the reputation that we will talk about later, and maybe on the revenue that they made in the application. And for the core team, it may be something else, like one person, one vote system. So this is just an example, but the idea here is to say, okay, you can have everybody that is represented in the app. And if I go back and take the example of YouTube that I explained at the beginning, so the thing is, at first it was like no ads, everything was free, and then everything changed. And if you do the same thing, but at each evolution you give some power, some governance power to every stakeholders, maybe you will have something more fair. And I mean, this is a model that needs to be tested. I don't know what you think about this, or if you have other like governance model that could be applied to application. I'm really happy to hear if you have any idea or anything to say on this.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, governance is one of my favorite things. So that's actually a really interesting model. So you've got your team, your content creation, your content creators, and your users, your watchers, your listeners, all of whom sharing segmented power. That's an interesting model. Like so you talked about reputation being on the side of the content creators. That's really cool. So obviously you've got your own reputation system for them. It would also be interesting to maybe weight your users, your watchers, your listeners' voting power based on reputation as well. But obviously you probably don't have your own reputation system for them. So it could be something that if it could be something that you bootstrap from a product like Galactica. Because obviously we have a much more comprehensive reputation system, which maybe could be leveraged to bootstrap your listeners. So that could be some kind of integration there. But there's all sorts of ways of doing a governance system. So I'm not going to comment too far on it, Maxime, because obviously you've already put in a decent amount of effort into coming up with your own. As far as Galactica goes, our cipher state is a meritocracy. We have a bicameral parliament, which is made up of obviously two major pieces of the parliament, which is the two councils essentially, and they're made up of interest groups and special interest groups. So special interest groups are ones that are really important to the protocol, like they're default ones. You could think of them as default ones, and they represent things like I don't know, infrastructure, DAOs, all the major stuff that you need in an L1. And then you have interest groups, which are just communities, essentially. They're just groups of people who are well aligned. And these interest groups can form, they get bigger, they get more powerful, and their joint reputation can increase to the point where they gain more power and with their and then they can use that power for governance. All of this leads into Galactica's funding mechanisms, which are absolutely immense and incredible, and something that will take far too long to explain. The point is that the result of all of the funding and the value that comes out of Galactica, it all goes back into the universal basic income pool, which feeds the citizens. So every citizen gets a UBI. And that UBI is based on the output and all of the citizens' efforts. It's a complete meritocracy. It's pretty much the first of its kind in the blockchain space, I think. In fact, I think that the tech stack we developed basically allows us to form any form of governance at all. So it could be something that's very useful to Maxime, just the tech stack itself. But yeah, I'll stop there because I love governance and I could literally speak about it all day. So I'll let you speak some more.
Yeah, governance is really one of my favorite topics too, and definitely something really interesting. And I think at some point we'll come at a moment where maybe government will maybe be interested in those models. I mean, last week I had a dinner with a guy working in politics. and in Paris, and it was really interesting. And the guy wanted to know more about our model and like governance model that Web3 people use or think about, because many people start to think that governance model in let's say traditional world may be improved a lot. And so yeah, definitely something really interesting. And hopefully at some point, I mean, for now we do not have like perfect things, and even with just like governance model only based on tokens sometimes do not really work. So yeah, we have some things to improve for sure, but yeah, governance is really interesting. So yeah, maybe
I'd love to know a little, like, if you don't mind me asking a very quick question, Maxime. I would like to know what your opinion is on like the SocialFi paradigm itself. So social finance.
yeah,
What do you consider about like that dichotomy, that like conflating, I guess, finance with some form of reputation? Because that seems to be like I'm kind of ignorant, to be honest, to a lot of the protocols in the SocialFi space. But I'd love to know your opinion on it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, so on SocialFi for me, because you have a lot of protocol and projects that are calling them SocialFi project, and for me sometimes they are not really SocialFi. But so what is SocialFi for us at SiBorg? Basically, we need a strong governance model based on decentralization. We have the whole social graph, and so the ownership of your social graph. And the last part is, of course, the monetization and the financialization of what you can do on socials. So once I said this, what's interesting to look at is the different narratives that you can see on SocialFi. And you have a lot of narratives, and I selected a few ones that for me are the more, let's say, the most interesting. And maybe the first one that probably everybody know, I mean, everybody who is a bit interested on SocialFi know is tokenization with a project like Frentech. And those are kind of interesting for me because this is totally something new, and it's kind of having only fan V2 model. And this is quite nice, but I think sometimes it can be, I mean, maybe in the future it will be an issue to have a lot of speculation on the profile of your content creator. So this is the thing that I'm a bit, we need some time to see what's happening. But one thing is social tokenization. The second part is really linked to data ownership. So you will have protocol like Lens, Farcaster, CyberConnect. So all those are protocols where you can create application based on those, and you benefit from let's say a common social graph. And they give a technology where everybody can own their social graph. So maybe some people don't know what is the social graph, and the social graph is just a digital representation of all your social interactions. So for example, all your followers, your following, your posts, everything is part of your social graph. And so this is really interesting. And so owning this means that tomorrow, for example, if you have an application that banishes you or that just shut down, then you don't lose everything. You don't lose everything, and you still own your followers, your following, your post, and you can go on another app on the same protocol. For example, you can move from Favor to Orb tomorrow to SiBorg, and if one of those platforms just banish you, or if it's shutting down, then you can move to another, or you can even create your own. So this is really the power of data ownership. And for us, this is for me, it's one of the things that are the most, that I think that are the most incredible. The other part is really onto creator monetization, and you have some projects like MatFi that are really interested on this part, where, for example, you can have some bounty where, so I'm a content creator and I want to resume my podcast with a few points. Then I can create a bounty, and one of my community member can propose something, and if it's right, then they get the bounty. So you can have a lot of things with community centric approach, and this make the link with another point, which is community growth and engagement. And so the whole idea, like I was saying, is having the community in the center, and by doing so, you can have a lot of more, let's say, engagement, interaction between your community. and your content creators. And maybe if you have things like zillion stuff integrated in different apps, then it can be really interesting to see how far a community can push content creators. And if we make a parallel with maybe the DeFi state, and how much money some project can raise through ICO and through other mechanism, then you can see the power of community. And so if we apply this to social media and to the pushing content, maybe we can have something that has never been seen anywhere. So this is the first four narratives. So community growth and engagement, creator monetization, data ownership, and social tokenization. And the other four that are really interesting for me are, so you have on-chain discovery. So everything that will help you to see what's going on chain. So you have cool stuff like interface, for example. You have also everything on the reclaiming attention. So this goes a little bit on the path of saying having better quality content and those things. And you have a project on the reading side that is named T2 World that is doing this, and it's really interesting. The other part is the multiplayer creation and how you can co-create with people. And the last one that is really interesting and on which we are focusing on SiBorg is the social identity. So basically with social identity, the idea is to say, so first you have everything linked to your digital identity, and with Web3 what we call say decentralized identity. So I think here Galactica is a really interesting example of what you could have between having your information or owning your those information like KYC, all those stuff, but owning this and have a certain privacy layer. So maybe you can elaborate on this if you want just after. And so this is one part of the social identity. The other part is the reputation. So we can have like everything linked to credentials to for example, at SiBorg, the reputation is in function of what you do in the app. So of your engagement, of your interaction, depending on this, you will have some reputation. And this reputation, the goal is to give a form of recognition. So if I digress a little bit on this, giving back some recognition to people, for us, it's really interesting and something that Twitch understand well. You know, when on Twitch you can sub and you can if you sub the content creator will thank you, say your name and all those stuff, and this is a form of recognition. So you have a social recognition, but you can have also exclusivities or more, let's say, financial recognition with incentives and all those things. So it's really interesting. And the last part is the proof of personhood. That for us is really interesting because the idea is how can you determine if someone is a bot or a real user? And by having DID, reputation, proof of personhood, then you can, let's say, have more probability to say that someone is a bot or not. And it's interesting because then if you look at how algorithms push people in the app, then having someone that is more likely to be a human will have more visibility than someone that have no data, that is like just created a wallet, you know. And on this reputation part, you can really go and you can have something really broad. So for example, indeed we could have an integration with Galactica to start, but we could also like create some reputation model based on lens, but also a reputation model that integrate on-chain activity. And we can do something like, maybe it's probably like an infinite reputation model depending of so many factors. So I don't know what you think about this, but I think it's something really interesting for sure.
No doubt, man. No doubt. Firstly, I'd just like to say, guys, thank you very much in the listener panel. I'd just like to, speaking of humans right now, if you could give us a like and a retweet on the space, that would be absolutely amazing. Maxime here is spitting some knowledge right now, really is. So yeah, as far as we go at Galactica, we are we're on the identity part of things. We're building a couple of types of identity. Galactica is essentially just, you know, a normal layer one in a lot of respects. However, those pseudonymous identities that you're used to using, those normal pseudonymous accounts, they have access to a reputation layer, a reputation framework. So those identities are suddenly far more useful because you can build up a reputation, and eventually, as happens in real life, your reputation starts to supersede your identity. Like initially in the world, your name means everything. But at a certain point, once you've built up enough reputation or enough skill or enough expertise or something exceptional in your life, it starts to supersede your name and what it is. So with pseudonymous identities having reputation, that's the kind of thing you can achieve with what Maxime is talking about there, which is Sybil resistance. You know, you can prove that you are not a bot because look at my history, sir. I have done all these things. No bot will have ever done any of these things, and I have done 1,000 of them. So it's a very good way of doing things. And then we have a second type of identity, which we call a citizen. Now, a citizen is basically an owner of our blockchain, and they go through our zero knowledge KYC framework in order to become a citizen. So we leverage off-chain trust in order to bootstrap our citizenship. And those citizens have an awful lot of benefits, including a universal basic income, in fact, which is like from the value output of the entire blockchain. So there's a lot of different ways of getting those data points that you're talking about, Maxime. And we definitely need to be having some long conversations into figuring out what we can do with SiBorg, because I think it's an impressive thing. I'd like to just get Cosmos Hoss to give his input, and then I'd love to ask a question to Maxime. So please go on, Hoss.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Yeah.
All right, just making sure because I went on a ride and I lost Wi-Fi, and then usually it kind of boots, but good. It looks like Twitter kind of fixed that. But anyhow, no, like what you guys are doing at Galactica, I remember the first time I found out about it, like was perfect because like everything that your ambition is exactly how I've made it in this space is from my reputation. You know, like I've tried to just be a good person and help as many people out as possible, and all the hours upon hours that I put in to get to where I'm at. And I always want to be known as like someone that's reputable, but like there's technically no way except for like word of mouth right now. You know, it's like I built up a good rapport with like the entire cosmos. So like a lot of the devs and teams like know who I am, and I've been on calls with them and whatnot. But as for like the overall global thing, you know, people that may not know me or be in like other ecosystems kind of outside of Cosmos, or I do like some Solana stuff and Ethereum too, but you know, they might see my profile and be like, oh, okay, yeah. And then like you might get categorized or kind of stereotyped with other, maybe say like the word influencer, like although I don't really consider myself really much of an influencer, I just consider myself more of a educator. I don't know if I consider myself an entertainer because I don't do the whole like crap posting or drama or like, you know, like stuff that a lot of these people do out here on Twitter. I just try to keep it real and talk about like what I believe in and like what I think can work in the future and from all my experiences and conversations I've had with others. So I do like try to just always be educational. And I know a lot of people seek Twitter for drama and like childish stuff, and that's not really my vibe. And people could do that if they want, but it would be nice to have like tolling, right? You can have categories like, okay, Haas is more of an entertainer, an educator. He does a lot of threads and posts and statistical analysis and things of that nature, as opposed to, okay, this person might have 100,000 followers, but really it's just like, not that I'm knocking it. Like people could do their own thing. I mean, I get some entertainment out of it, but you know, like, okay, they're more on the drama side, and then being able to tie that into reputation on chain too. Like I've used honestly like every dex pretty much imaginable, that like top notch decks. I'm not gonna say every little random one on random chains, but I've used like everything. You know, I'm just like a person that likes to explore everything and then give my input and talk about it from my perspective. And I try to, because I used to be that community member a few years ago, where I was just like I was like having a good time. It was like I was a fanboy of certain technologies, but then like I came through almost like a janitor throughout different ecosystems and built my way up. And none of it I did intentionally. It was just because I was having a good time, and luckily I had the time to do it because of like the world that we lived in with COVID and all that. But it's pretty cool to be able to take that and take it to another step too, though, and have like a way of saying any of us, right? It's like we're reputable. This is who we are. And, you know, like people ask sometimes like, oh, do you have a CV or do you have this or that for it would just be nice to like have like Galactica and be like, yeah, here's my, you know, my reputation on chain. Like go look if you want, you know, and be able to do that as opposed to like having to sell myself, right? It's like, oh yeah, I do this and this and that and that. And I think what you guys are doing, and then also what Max is doing, is awesome, because that's always my fear. Like one of the reasons I never really got into YouTube is because I do think a lot of times YouTube is still kind of the old school. Like if you say something they don't agree with, they're gonna ban your ass right away. And I'm not down with that. Like I believe in complete freedom as long as you're not promoting like violence. I think you should be able to say pretty much whatever you want to, even if I don't agree with your stance or your point of view. I don't like anything like that. And that's kind of why I just stick to Twitter, because Elon took over, and whether you like him or not, he kind of is a privacy maxi. And like for the most part, it opened up, because like beforehand, Twitter was awful. Like it was just like you could say, you know, something wrong and you're just going to get shadow banned or banned. And I mean, now it's happened to politicians and everyone, like actual, like the president of the United States got banned from Twitter, like believe it or not, you know? So there is a big, huge gap there that needs to be built. And I think there's a lot of people tackling that in this space. And that's another great thing, because if we lose like our freedom of speech, then we kind of just lose everything. And like, it's really, it comes down to that, because if you can't say how you feel or like say anything that people don't agree with, then it's a scary world we live in. Like, you know, we all dealt with a virus, and people couldn't even voice their opinion that, you know, contradict anything that the mass media was saying. And it was a shame. Even, and this includes literally doctors that have been doctors for 30, 40 years. They were saying things and they were getting banned or whatever, you know. It was a shame. And it's kind of a scary world, but that's one of the many reasons I love crypto, because I think we're kind of speed running thousands of years of just like nonsense, and we're not going to put up with it. You know, we're building tooling out to have, like Max was saying, if you get banned or whatever, someone wants to kick you off their platform, you could take all your users. Like I put in so many hours on Twitter. Imagine if, like, that's another reason I'm trying not to be any confrontational or anything, because I would never want to get banned or get blocked or whatever from Twitter, even though Twitter's, you know, more realistic, because I put so many relationships in with all these people. I literally take it personal, and I talk to like every single person that comments on any of my stuff. I comment back. I put in so much time and effort. I'm always on Twitter, and it would be a shame to just be like, oh, you know what, you said something political we don't agree with, we're just going to kick you off our platform now. And that's kind of like how some of these social platforms are, and it's just a shame, you know. But anyways, that's my point.
I think taking away like the power of like centralized entities like private companies and governments to do the matching for us. I think that's the main thing. Like right now we've got, like, you know, if you're on Elon's social media, you've got Elon's ethos, you've got Elon's ideas, which are good ideas, and it's a good ethos. I guess it's just it doesn't fit everyone, and it's always going to push some people to the sides. So I think that's why crypto is so damn important, is because, you know, once you put people in a room together where they don't have the ability to just shut the other person up, it's a more interesting conversation, and it forces people to be more nuanced in their opinions rather than these extremes that we have in the world right now. It forces those people to get together and actually talk. But if, you know, it also gives people the option to simply, you know, if you see a certain piece of reputation in someone's history, you can also not interact with that person if you want to. But that's your choice. You're not forced there by an algorithm, and I think that's very important. So yeah, beautiful, Hoss, really.
Yeah.
So Maxime, sorry, go on, please.
Yeah. I think also you mentioned something really interesting, and so you mentioned about, let's say, kind of the censorship in some extent with the, let's say, you mentioned that we can have we can have all sort of content as well, only if it's not violence. The thing is, when you say this means that at some extent we need to have the censor a censorship on this part, so on violence. And I mean, I totally agree that we need like we need to avoid absolutely violence on every social. But the thing is, when you start saying, okay, we cannot have this part, then it gets difficult to, you know, put the right cursor at the right place. And this is something really difficult, and I don't have the answers on those parts. But I think a model that may be really interesting is the moderation from the community. And I don't know if you have seen some project working with this, and I have one in mind that is named Republic. I think they're French, but the thing is, what they try to do on the social media is to have a moderation, but it's the community that is doing the moderation. So you don't have the thing of, okay, you do not have this, and this in the app in terms of censorship point of view, but it's the community that is deciding what is correct and not for the platform. And I think that may be a way to have, let's say, good to have a good moderation. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's still really complicated. So I don't know what you think about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good point, because you open up like a can of worms, if you will. Like, it's like I don't know if that's a common phrase or not, but where you're from. But yeah, like, you don't know where to draw the line in the sand when it comes to that point. I guess mine would just be super drastic. Like, you're talking about like killing people or something, that maybe that's just like automatic, because that's not acceptable no matter what, you know. And it's like, but yeah, I totally get what you mean. It's really hard, because like I said, I'm like pretty much like a very open privacy maxi and freedom. Like, I'm just a big freedom of speech person. Like, anyone that like wants to revoke that or mitigate that, even if it's something that like, even if it's something that's like, man, you're an asshole for saying something like that, I totally disagree. I still feel like they should be able to say it, you know, because it's like, who am I? I'm not your um your savior. I'm not your boss. Like, you could be a dick all you want, but um I'm not going to hang out with you because you're someone I don't agree with on that stance, or you're just a jerk. I mean, I don't hang out with jerks. I try not to, right? But you still should be able to be a jerk, I guess, is my point. And we came to the part, especially in America, where it was like, I don't know what happened out of nowhere, and within just a select few years, it was everything that anyone said was either offensive or confrontational, and no one could joke about anything. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm getting like an old guy or something. Like, I remember not that long ago, people were saying all this stuff and joking about it and laughing, whether it was like a racial joke or a religious joke or whatever kind of joke it was, right? Like, everyone seemed like they could just joke about things and kind of laugh at it. Now it's like, oh, you're losing your job because you said this or you made one mistake. And I'm just like, man, this is too much for me. I don't agree when someone says something wrong, but like, we all have bad days. Maybe that person was just having a bad day and they said something they immediately regret. I've said things where like 2 seconds later, even with my wife or whatever, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the right thing to say. I feel awful, you know, but like, why should I be condemned for life because I said one bad thing, or that person said a bad thing? And yeah, it's a scary world when we live in that like censorship where everyone's like so fearful to say anything. You know, maybe in 10 years there's another virus, and maybe someone in a different country is like, hey, like, I took this random medicine, or I ate this random fruit and it got rid of it. And then, well, like, the it doesn't go with the ethos, you know, the money making machine. And it's like, you can't say that, you lose everything, you know. And like, we need these type of tooling, because it's just crazy, like, what we all had to endure. And I don't know if everywhere in the world was as bad, but America was terrible. It was like we all were on one side of the fence or the other. Families were mad at each other. I legitimately had family members telling me I'm a moron idiot because I didn't want to get the shot. And I'm like, I told them, I'm like, if I was to get COVID and die from it, like it pretty much is going to wipe out the entire world. I eat almost perfect. I'm in great shape. I could run like at the time I was running like a little over 6 minute miles. I was like, I'm a great athlete. Like I'll be fine if I get COVID, you know. Now if I was in my 60s or 70s and I had health issues, maybe I get the shot. You know what I mean? Everyone has different like situations. So like there's never a one shoe fits all with finances, with health, or whatever. And anytime someone wants to tell you you have to do something, it's kind of a scary world. And I think you said it earlier, I'm getting off topic, but it's all about options. Like whether you want to use something or not, we just need to provide options and tooling for people to do anything. And I think that's what this space is for, because Galactica nailed it earlier, is we need to mitigate and eliminate as much central power for like everything as possible, because then it's a more fair system for all of us to partake in.
Man, I love you guys. Yeah. Okay, we've actually just got a new speaker up to the stage. Welcome, Trix. How are you doing today?
Hey, good. You guys hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to pop in. It's a great discussion. And it just, I had a note that was sticking in my head listening to both of you guys talking about the censorship issue. And I really loved Max's point about like community feedback. And it made me think about like how, you mentioned Cosmos Haas, that the president got banned from Twitter at one point. And I think one of the really powerful features in Twitter now is the community notes functionality. And there was a great example of it today because Joe Biden posted something about how like inflation rates are down. So corporations have to start or companies have to start reducing their prices. And it's like the community notes popped in and explained to everyone how that's not exactly how inflation works. And I think that's a really powerful solution to that problem that doesn't require banning the president because he said something that wasn't correct or implied something that wasn't really very accurate. Because that was a big problem when Trump was like constantly tweeting stuff that was causing all kinds of issues in the market because he was whatever it was, like there were problems there, but the problem wasn't that he was tweeting stuff. It was that the information wasn't available to people reading that tweet to understand the context, like the accurate context. And so the community feedback and the community notes functionality really addresses that problem in a non-censorship kind of way. And that was really just the only point that I wanted to throw into the conversation because I thought it was really relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's relevant. I didn't even see that yet. That's no, that's what it takes. It right. They always say it takes. I forget the saying, but it takes us all to build a village, and that's kind of what it is, And I think what Max is doing with the community feedback is amazing because, if someone says something that's not statistically proof, and that's the problem that we've lived in the last decade or so. As everyone, like I'll report a story. Like let's say I was a journalist and I report the story from you, right? I'm interviewing you, and someone takes what I said and then they like kind of believe what I say and then they change it to their narrative. And then it's just like this cycle, right? It's like when you tell one person something and you say, tell the next person, pass it along to like 100 people. By the time it gets to like the fourth person, it's like completely different than what the original story was. And, but no, that's great. Like we need tooling like that because it is scary. Like I hate to like pick on boomers, but like people in that generation don't hear anything. Oh, I heard it on Facebook. It's like, yeah, that's a great place to get your news or your actual, your whatever your story is, and it's sad. It's really sad because like where I grew up, where I live at now is a little bit different than where I was from, but it was just like the way that people were raised back then. They believed like all the things that I believe in now, and it's just like all of a sudden they don't, and everything changed, and you're this type of person, you're that type of person based off of how you vote and stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's like I really feel like most people on planet Earth, if you had to put out like a football field or a soccer field or a pitch or whatever you guys call it everywhere, like most people are like in the middle of the field, like their points of views and their just like their everything, their happiness or whatever. Then you get people on, start to go a little bit this way and a little bit that way. But like the last decade, it was just like everyone's on this side of the field and on that side of the field. Even if you're at the middle, you know, it's like, I believe in this and that's it. And I'm not going to listen to you about anything. And we gotta get away from that, because it's just not a good thing. It's just bad. It's dangerous. And I believe that's the biggest issue in the world right now. It's not about like social issues, even though some of them are important, or like all of this stuff. It's just about being open and being able to hear other people's perspectives, because that's what it's about. Like, no one's ever going to believe exactly what the other person believes, and which is fine. That's what humanity's about. But the way that it's scary is whenever like those other options get eliminated, or banned or shadow banned, or just divorced, or they lose their job. It's a scary world, and I don't want to live in a world like that. So I'm really hoping that like things like this and these tooling and community management and whatever it is that like kind of help people kind of come together, as opposed to always being so separated. And that's just what I think. So.
Yeah, totally. It kind of reminds me of a conversation. There's maybe a little bit of a sidetrack. I won't try to waste too much time on it, but it reminds me of a conversation I was having with a couple of friends. We were sitting around talking, and one friend was saying that his girlfriend was always annoyed at him because whenever he'd see like a funny tweet or a post or anything on social media, he would spend all of his time reading the comments. And she was just like, why are you reading the comments? What a waste of time. Just like, and he's like, well, you just like scroll through. And we were discussing how like for us, the importance is that like the context is in the comments, and just reading the post it only gives you one side or even part of one side of the conversation. And engaging with people in the comments and reading about other people's perspectives is where you get the context to broaden your view and be able to understand, the nuance of what the person's coming from. And maybe the post is, intentionally trying to obfuscate the context, or maybe they just left it out because it made the post a little bit more viral friendly or something. But being willing to dig into these things and engage with people to establish that context so that you have more perspective. I think that's really part of the key to breaking down that process that you were talking about of, the extremism and the isolation on either side of the issue. If we can challenge each other to be willing to dig into the context a little bit more and share each other's perspectives, then, I think that's a really big step forward in that direction.
Yeah. And like last point to that is like, this is the only platform, but there could be many more that can offer that, because we all know mainstream media and television is never going to offer that. Like, that's just not going to go with their narrative and their money, their donors, and whatever else is on there. So it's like a waste of time. And I wish that pretty much every human didn't watch mainstream media, because I feel like we'd all be in a better space mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever you want to lead at the very end of it. And we need stuff like this, because if not, it's dangerous. And I can only hope for the best when it comes to this. And yeah, you're preaching to the choir with me, man. I tell people all the time, like my family and the older people in my family, I'm like, can you guys please? I could tell, like my father, I'm like, can you stop? He never watched the news ever, right? Never. He's in his early 60s now, and he's always watching the news, and he's always mad about stuff. I'm like, why are you watching this crap? It's just a bunch of crap. I tell him all the time, is it making you happier? Like, and the answer is no. Then stop watching it, because you're just probably taking a few years off of your life because you're watching this nonsense on television.
Yeah, we've been trained as a culture to like seek out being frustrated and pissed off and angry about things in order to learn. I don't remember where it was I was reading this, but it was a discussion around like the original context of political debates, or just like a debate in general. And the original intention of these kind of debates was to give opposing individuals like a chance to discuss with each other, to learn like each other's perspectives. And it gave me this really interesting perspective, I guess, on like how messed up our current system is, because people just see a debate as a chance to win. Like, they want to win, and they want to support the person who's winning. Like, oh, my side was smarter, they were clever, they had more like little gotchas, instead of like, oh, that they did a really good job of like understanding the other side's perspective and then communicating how their perspective was similar and different to that, and like having a unified conclusion at the end of the debate instead of this like polarizing, like who won, who's the cleverer debater.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question, and we'll give it to you over at Galactica. Do you think within the next, I don't know, let's just say 5 years, that we're going to actually just have normal podcast debates instead of this like forced garbage that's on, mainstream television where they have candidates up there, they only get like a minute to answer a question, and it's just kind of garbage, right? The whole setting and structure of it's terrible, and people don't realize pre-television and all that, like Abraham Lincoln and the original presidents at the very early, they would have hours upon hours, like even a day debate about things and just talk to people all day long. And like we have the technology, and we have great podcasters out there that have millions and millions of followers, have reputable discussions. They're open-minded, if you will. Like there's a plenty of open-minded people that they say from all perspectives. They're not just like, oh, I'm on the right or I'm on the left. Most of them are just like, honestly, most of them, in my opinion, are kind of libertarian. They just have to choose one or the other. So that's kind of where I kind of lie in. But to ask you that question, do you think we're going to eventually start having, say, the next president election where they go on, like, say, Joe Rogan, and they just talk to him for like 2.5 hours about all kind of topics, and like it's just open mic. It's like Joe Rogan can just dig in if he wants to. Do you think we'll ever have that?
Are you directing that question to me?
Yeah, I'm asking it to you because it seems like you listen to podcasts and things.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be in the next 5 years, but I definitely think we're moving that direction. I mean, I think we already have those platforms being developed. Like you said, there's tons of great podcasts. I mean, just seeing like the conferences and panels that are becoming so much more popular. I mean, I remember it used to be just kind of like a tech only thing, but I think that's going to start pushing into other aspects of life. And, maybe eventually the presidential debates will start picking up on that because the rest of it becomes mainstream media, like everything but the president is doing that kind of stuff. And that's what's going to push it to happen. But I don't think that like our political parties are going to push that agenda. I think it's going to come from the community demanding it, and the platforms that, we're building, and the tooling that, groups like Galactica and what Max is building, that kind of stuff is going to force the political parties to have to catch up to, the modern era and what's actually relevant and what people are demanding.
That's actually a very accurate description, I would say, Trix. One of the founding documents, I suppose you could call it, of Galactica is the network state by Balaji Srinivasan. Very complicated last name, very intelligent guy. He's actually built the network state concept. It's all about building something in parallel. Like you have the real world, and you want to build something that is better for people. You want to build better infrastructure for people, because that's the thing that fails people, is the infrastructure. Right now you have, governments which are failing, or inept, or corrupt, or inefficient, or any combination. And there's really not much you can do about it. There's too many entrenched people and things in order to move them, in order to change things. So what Balaji says is that instead of fighting, instead of being in competition, you build in parallel. You build something. In this case, we use technology. We use blockchain technology in order to not just represent finance, but also people. And once you can do that, you can start building these social institutions, these rule sets to live by. And once you build suitable infrastructure for people, and you give them enough composability and enough ability to just customize and choose the way they interact with other people, you could start building viable on-chain nation states. And that's what we've done with our cipher state. Once you get enough adoption of something like a cipher state, you can start to really push some buttons, because you've suddenly got a global network of possibly millions of people, all of which with the financial and reputation capital to actually push ideas in the real world. and you suddenly have an on-chain nation state with diplomatic clout, which is just an unknown prospect and something like that I am ridiculously excited about. Goes a bit beyond the context of everything, but something that I really like getting out there. I just want to have a very quick reset, guys, because obviously there's been a lot going on. So if you guys could give us a like and a retweet on the space, really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys showing up. I'd just like to ask Maxime one more thing before we start winding up, and that is basically if I was a user of SiBorg, what would I see and what could I do with your app? I'd love to know, because I don't have like a full understanding of what from the user side I would get from your app, Maxime.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, when we'll be live at first, we will have kind of a simple USP, and basically the idea is how can you empower content creators by giving the choice to users. So basically, what it means, at first we focus on Twitter Space, so referencing Twitter Space, because I mean today we're doing a space live. It's cool, everybody is jumping in, and it's really nice. I like it. But once live is finished, there is a strong probability that the content will be lost in the Twitter feed. And so it's an issue because it's a quality content. And so the idea is to have a reference, it's to reference all those Twitter space. And once it's referenced, then people can listen to them, etc. So the live stayed on Twitter, but the rediffusion, let's say, you can have it in our app, and then we will also have podcasts and all. But referencing Twitter Space for us, it's like the first thing that we will do. And so this is on the, let's say, consumption of the content. And of course, the second thing that we will have is the social identity, and by this we'll have the first reputation model with recognition. And thanks to this model, so you will have a reputation depending of what you do in the app, but at first you will also have a reputation depending of different factors that I will not explain too much in details yet, because we will soon go live. And so a little bit of teasing, and I will let you see by yourself. But basically, when you will start in our app, you will not start reputation from scratch. And so this is one thing. And then thanks to this reputation that you will be able to improve in the app, then you will get, let's say, some power, let's say some points at the beginning that you will be able to give to content creators to boost their visibility and to give them, let's say, governance. So this is really the first thing, the first, let's say, beta of the app that we will have. And then we will have a lot of things. We have a lot of things in mind, but yeah, for now I will keep it short to this answer. I mean, if it's good for you and if it answered your question.
Yeah, 100%, man. I don't want you giving away all the secrets. No one wants to give away all the secrets, but that's really appreciated. Thank you, Max. Okay, everyone. Well, I've had a freaking amazing time tonight. I really appreciate you guys coming up to speak. Triggs, I really appreciate you coming up to speak. You're an amazing speaker, man. You should come up more often. And yeah, it's been an absolutely amazing space. We've had some amazing takes, great insights from everyone up here. Maxime from SiBorg. You should definitely give him a follow and check out and follow SiBorg as well. That's going to be something to watch for sure. Follow Triggs for sure, and always follow Cosmos Hoss because he's just a genius and a nice guy. So make sure you do that. If you could throw us a follow at galactica.com, I would appreciate that too. But I'll put us at the last of the list just because I'm friendly like that. Okay, and so if you would like to give us a like and a retweet, that would very much help us. It helps us get the recording out. As you can see, we like to give value on our podcasts, on our Twitter spaces, whatever you want to call these things. We really like to make sure that people get the value for their time. So if you can get the recording out, more people get value. It's great. So thank you very much, everyone who's joined us to listen. It's been absolutely wonderful. So I'd just like to ask maybe everyone on the panel just to say goodbye. If you have any very quick final thoughts. So Maxime, I don't know if you just want to say goodbye.
Yeah, of course. So again, thanks a lot for the invitation. It was my first space, so hope you enjoyed it and that it was cool. I really enjoyed it myself. So really nice, really good talks, lot of topics, really amazing, really interesting, and hope you will have like all the best, all of you, and yeah, that's great. And hopefully we'll see each other on other space soon. Yeah.
You know it, Max. You know it. We'll. This is nowhere near the last time. Okay, Triggs, if you have anything to say, mate.
Yeah, just thanks a lot for letting me come up. I was actually really excited to see SiBorg getting represented here. I've been kind of following that project ever since I came across it. So exciting to see you guys are getting close. So thanks a lot for sharing all the info on that. That's awesome.
I have no doubt Max is happy to give that. And Hoss, your final thoughts, mate?
Yeah, just thank everyone that tuned in, all the speakers, all the people that have been putting in the time and work to move this space forward, and just keep doing your thing. And I think there's a lot of light at the end of this tunnel. So thank you everyone for all your time and effort, and just get active. Anyone listening, and if you want to be a part of crypto, it's just do it. That's all I could say. Just get in here. Every human, every single person listening can add some sort of value or skill set or uniqueness to this space and add value. And maybe you get to leave your own real job and work in this space. So just think about that. It's a great opportunity. I want to be doing this the rest of my life, and I think it's an amazing opportunity. I think this space is going to exponentially keep growing, and we actually, in theory, don't even have enough people in this space to help. So it's definitely an opportunity, and it's great because you can work from home, you can live anywhere, you can travel the world, you get to do a lot. So it does take a lot of work and dedication and determination and all that, but you can definitely do it. I'm here to help, so reach out to me, and thank you everyone for your time as always.
Thank you very much, Cosmos Hoss. Absolutely follow that advice, guys. And one of the best things you can do to get into the space right now, if you're not already, is to join our Discord. So check out the Galactica profile, the one I'm speaking from here. Join our Discord and go through the Cypher State campaign. You can ask us in the Discord anything you want. We're always happy to answer. And what that will get you, if you put in the effort, if you put in the work, is a Galactica Network citizenship. Right? We're not asking for any money, no money at all. We're asking for your social contributions. You go through a Zeely campaign and you speak on Discord. It's super simple, super simple. And what that gets you, again, a Galactica Network citizenship. And I can't really overstate how valuable that actually is. That gets you a universal basic income to your wallet for life based on the output of the entire Galactica Network. One of the most innovative and incredible L1 protocols coming out in the nearest future. It's something special. You're gonna want to be a citizen if you can be. So if you want to earn that without, again, any money transferred, jump on our Discord. We will teach you how. And it's pretty simple. And it's all very human and very social. So yeah, make sure you do that. You can check the pin tweets as well, just about our Sentinels campaign. So if you happen to think that you can provide a lot of value to Galactica Network, you can also apply to be a Sentinel. We've ended the first cohort, but we're still taking applications. So make sure you check that out if you think you can add a lot of value, and that will get you a citizenship even earlier, which is even more value. All right, everyone. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Make sure you remember that this is a weekly podcast, Thursday, same time every week, 2100 hours, 9 o'clock UTC every Thursday evening. So yeah, make sure you join us next week for the next one. And finally, as always, I'd like to thank you all for joining. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Into the Cypher State. And thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate you. See you soon.